Welcome to our live
No,
stream
no.
of high school
No, no.
sports. Please note that this broadcast is produced by an independent team of sports enthusiasts, and the views, opinions, and commentary expressed are solely those of the commentators and not representative of the schools, teams, or athletes featured. While we strive for accuracy, occasional errors or misstatements may occur. This stream is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the show.
Yeah, come on, let's go. Hey, you ain't never seen nothing like this. Ain't no telling how it might get. It's the hypest right here. High school sports at its finest. So many highlights, you have to rewind it. Hey, Stream City, let me just remind you. The heart of a lion, a team full of fighters. So many stars on the field, it'll blind you. They're giving everything they got till the time's up. Yeah, legends in the making. History is made. We just getting started. You ain't seen a thing. YSN, gotta know the name. They gon' bring the flames. They gon' do their thing. Take it to another level, don't hold back. High school, got a passion and we show that. Got the drive and you know they got the heart. Number one spot for your high school sports. Let's go for the win. Hey.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is Overreaction Monday. I am DJ Oakley. This is YSN Live, and joining me as always, the co-pilot, the man who actually has the controls, the wizard, the 8-time best-selling author, world traveler, Grammy and Emmy Award winning. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Anthony Ronald Hartwig.
Hey, if I'm flying the plane, we're all in trouble. That's all I'm
I would beg to disagree, my friend.
I did not go to flight school. I did not go to flight school. I'm just pretending.
That's okay.
I talk a big game.
I gave you all the fake controls over there to make you feel like a big boy. So, what a weekend it was. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to chat about, and naturally, we got the guy. We got him. We got him. Got the guy to do it. The professor over at the University of Mount Union. The one and the only, the photographer of all photographers. And boy, does he moonlight as a hell of a broadcaster as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our dear friend and the one and the only, Mr. Greg McAfee.
What's up, guys?
Well, you know, just week 11, playoff time, Greg. And Derp's in the comments already, so there's nothing new there. He's excited for Overreaction Monday, as are the entirety of YSN Nation, because they know they're going to see you and they're going to get some hot takes, some true takes that they're not going to get anywhere else. So let's start here. I'll give you the floor, my friend. Where and who impressed you coming out of week 10?
Well, I mean, you got to look at a couple different teams here, DJ, as we get ready to start the postseason. I mean, first, we say it multiple times. We've said it multiple times on zone coverage, but we got to put some respect on Warren JFK's name heading into the postseason. I mean, this was a team that started off the year 0-5, and are all of a sudden 5-5 and the number 8 seed in the playoffs. And, in the Division 7 playoffs, and, they could potentially have a matchup with top seed McDonald in the second round if they're able to take away a win in the first round of the playoffs. But I mean, this is a team a lot of people counted out at the beginning of the year after, 5 straight losses. And all of a sudden, we see them in the playoffs fighting for their playoff lives, and, they make it into the playoffs. And I mean, that you gotta commend what the Eagles were able to do in the second half of the season, and, kind of turn things around and find their lane and get into the postseason. So that's one team I want to highlight. Another team, obviously, I got to call the game on Friday. It was a heck of a game. Probably one of the best games I've called this season between Boardman and Canfield. And I mean, geez, what else would you hope for in week 10 of high school football here in Ohio? A game that goes into overtime and is won on a 2-point conversion with the Spartans. Their season was on the line. The game was on the line, the season was on the line, and they decided to go for it. Just a great game, a great performance. They knocked off 9-0 Canfield, ended their undefeated season, and just what a game. You got to give a lot of credit to the Spartans for what they've been able to do and continuing to fight, especially after how their season started with that loss to Twinsburg. But they've continued to fight, continued to show, what they're truly made of, and they got some playmakers over there. They were able to. They obviously started that game on the ground with their running game, and they kind of shifted as the game went on and shifted to their passing game, and that was kind of how they were able to win it with a 2-point conversion and the game tying touchdown as well. So just a heck of a season for the Spartans, for them to be able to punch their ticket to the playoffs and everything. But you got to give credit to the undefeated teams as well. Girard, Crestview, McDonald all finished the year at 10-0. McDonald obviously got the number 1 seed in Division 7. Crestview number 2 in Division 6, and then Girard comes in just behind Cardinal Mooney in Division 5, and it's I'm really excited to see what these teams do in the playoffs after the first round buys and everything like that. Just really excited.
Crazy thing about that Boardman game too, it probably was one of the deciding factors in Mooney getting the 1 seed because they got those those points from Boardman's win. So Boardman's not the only team this year that we've seen go for 2 for the win. And it's been like, I feel like it's happened a lot more this year than we ever saw in years past, where we're seeing teams just kind of get ultra aggressive. Do you think coaches are getting more aggressive because there's 12 teams in the playoffs now instead of 16, and now wins become even more important because there are less spots to kind of go around?
Well, obviously in week 10, their season was on the line. They needed a win to get into the playoffs. And, I got a chance to talk to Vince Butto after the game on Friday. And when they called the timeout before going for the PAT attempt in overtime, the Spartans came over to the sideline and DJ Dota, rallied them up, and they were so I was curious if it was his decision, if he left it up to the players, and Butto said DJ Dota gave us the choice. And we had all the confidence in the world to go for it. And earlier in the year, I covered the Poland Girard game with Sigler, and it was Pat Pearson. As soon as Poland scored to go ahead, he knew they were going for 2. He told me after the game, he was like, as soon as they scored, right before the ball was even kicked on the kickoff, we knew we were going to go down, score, and go for 2. So I think a lot of it's a mindset in a way, rather than going for a tie or going for a win. I think it just depends on who's on the sideline, who the coach is. What the confidence level is like. And obviously, Pat Pearson, one of the more confident coaches in the area, has complete faith in his team. And, DJ Dota, the same type of thing, wanted to give his players the choice. So I don't think necessarily, the big picture comes into it at all. It's what's in front of them. It's the game in front of them, the situation in front of them. Obviously at the end of regulation, the Boardman, scored to come within 1. They could have gone for 2 there, but they kicked the PAT to tie it and go into overtime. So I think it's the situation in front of them. It's not necessarily the big picture.
You sit there and you look at kind of Division 7, and there's one matchup in particular that I think everybody's got their eye on because it's an all-local matchup with Western Reserve in East Palestine. You got one team that's kind of going out like a lamb right now, and one team that's roaring like a lion. That being the Western Reserve Blue Devils. When you think about this matchup, this is an intriguing one because a team that has arguably shifting quarterbacks under John Armini, and they've tried to, MacGyver this thing together and make a successful one, which I think getting to the playoffs, they did just that. And you got another team in East Palestine that were 6-0 at one point that linked to the playoffs. Greg, break this one down for us.
Obviously, momentum is a huge thing in high school football. Momentum is a huge thing in any sport whatsoever. And when you're going into the playoffs riding high, coming off of a few wins, playing, you feel like you're kind of hitting that peak. It's good for a team. It's good for confidence. It's good for momentum. It's good for just overall positivity heading into the playoffs. And obviously, you learn a lot from losses more than you learn from wins. So, East Palestine, maybe taking into the locker room this week, taking into the practice field, and it's all about, all right, what do we need to fix? This is obviously they've had some big games this year, Columbiana, United earlier in the year, but this is the one that matters the most. It's a whole new season. So you fix things, you figure it out. But I mean, these are two teams that obviously Western Reserve suffered a pretty big injury before the season even started, with losing their starting quarterback. We got to see them play Waterloo after zone coverage earlier this year, and they got some big boys. Western Reserve has some big boys across the defensive front, and they have some talented guys on the outside and in the backfield. Sorensky's one of my favorite running backs I've seen this year in person. He's quick. He can move. He can run guys over. And then on the other side, you got a pretty talented sophomore quarterback in Clark Rutledge, and then you got guys all over the place with East Palestine. So it's going to come down to stopping the run on both sides of the ball and kind of see where the chips fall. But this is definitely an interesting matchup, and we were talking about it before we came into the show. Definitely one to keep your eyes on that, I might want to see in person myself for sure.
Greg, we have 12 YSN teams with a bye. Is that more, less, or on par with your preseason expectations of how many teams you thought would get a bye when it came out that the top 4 seeds were going to get a bye in the playoffs?
I think it's pretty on par. I mean, I think we had coming into the season, we had some pretty big teams, some pretty good teams. I mean, obviously, like McDonald is a team that I've kind of kept my eye on all year long. Girard is a team that kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know if there are really high expectations for them coming into this year, and obviously AJ Pearson's kind of lit it on fire. Crestview, another team that's kind of taken people by surprise with their undefeated season. But I mean, with what they have over there, and Jake Nolan and Mikey Proctor and guys on the outside, they've impressed, and they've kind of been one of the bigger surprises. But as far as teams with buys, I mean, obviously you have kind of teams all over. I mean, Mooney has had a heck of a season. Garfield is obviously always a team in consideration, and then Poland. They're a team that kind of had high expectations coming into the year. I figured they'd be one of the better teams, and it turns out they were. And then you got guys. I mean, you got teams like Fitch, you got teams like Hoban, you got teams like West Branch, that all have had great seasons to earn those top 4 spots. Canfield as well with a number 1 spot, despite the loss on Friday. So I think it's right on par. I mean, we got a bunch of teams in the area that are good and have been good all year long. So it'll be exciting to see what they do in the postseason.
Oh, the thing's broken. My button's broken. There we go. There we go. So I guess the next question is one of the big matchups from Friday night, the one that we were there at zone coverage. We saw, what was going on. I don't know if you saw on social media, the Ram roast in McDonald. Yeah. we were able to be part of the bonfire there at Mineral Ridge. This one was a whale of a game. When you look at the video, it's evident that these two teams don't like each other a whole lot, but they were kind of both, I don't want to say afraid, that's not the right characteristic, but they didn't want to make a mistake because they knew the other team was going to make them pay. When you look at this game, McDonald obviously goes in, undefeated, and then Ridge goes in, with a tough loss to a team, and then now they're going to get on the road 90 minutes away to Sugar Creek Garaway, right? How do you like these two teams' chances as they go? Obviously, McDonald with a bye this week, so they get to watch everything. But you look at Ridge, can they be a contender against Garaway?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see Garaway earlier this year against Girard, and I mean, despite how good Girard is, like Garaway's got pieces. I mean, they have a pretty solid running back in the backfield. They got young receivers on the outside. They have a senior receiver that had a pretty good season heading into the Girard matchup, and then they got a sophomore quarterback and that can really sling the ball around. I mean, this is a good team. I mean, I think South Range knocked them out last year, if I'm correct in the playoffs.
Yep.
And they're a team that's constantly in the conversation, but I mean, I don't think you can, just because Mineral Ridge is going into the postseason on a loss, I don't think you can necessarily overlook the Rams. I mean, they're a team that have had success all year long. They run the ball well. They got 2 pretty talented quarterbacks and a strong running game. And if I know anything for sure, it's Andy Hake's going to have these guys ready. It seemed like he had them ready for Friday, but McDonald is obviously a very good team. I mean, they're both very good teams. McDonald was able to just come out on the winning end on Friday, and I would assume if you play that game 10 out of 10 times, it could go either way 10 out of 10 times. And that game, just looking back at the watching the film and cutting the highlights up together and everything like that, that game had everything. I mean, it had big plays, it had turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, strong running games, big plays, and it was everything you would hope for out of a rivalry game like that. I would have high hopes for both of those teams in the playoffs. I think McDonald's got all the pieces if they play like they're known to play. Like the McDonald I saw against Springfield and the McDonald I saw against Mineral Ridge, two completely different types of game plans. It seemed like they aired the ball out a little more against Mineral Ridge than they did against Springfield, and I think that's when you get the best version of McDonald, is when they're able to run the ball but still air it out at times, and keep teams off balance, because obviously they've been known to run the ball for a very long time in that wing T offense. And so when you can switch it up, and I mean, they have the talents on the outside. When you have a guy like Jordan Perry and you have a guy like Josh Crumpack, who is, I think he's like he's a track star in the spring. Oh, yeah. And so when you have that speed and talent on the outside, and you can still run the ball with guys like Casey Miller and Drew Zajac and Preston Van Meter, it's a talent. I mean, and they have big guys across the line of scrimmage. So that's a good team, and I think they just need to, obviously operate with the right game plan, throughout the playoffs. And Mineral Ridge, I mean, I'm never going to count out Andy Hake and the Rams. I mean, he has those guys always ready to go. And I didn't expect anything less on Friday. And they were in the game until the very end. I mean, obviously it came down to a huge play up the right sideline that, not many teams can defend when you have a guy like Josh Crumpack on the outside.
Mineral Ridge obviously has a long road trip, but they're not the only team that is making a trip this week. Greg, what do you think is the hardest road trip for a Wyattstown school, whether it be because of the distance or who they have to play on the road? Which one do you think has the toughest road matchup?
That's a good question. Let me scroll through here real quick.
Anthony, while he's doing that, why don't you give the list of games that we have this week that for our teams? Not that have been official yet from our coverage standpoint, but if you want to just give the go ahead.
So we'll start in Division 2. Boardman will be on the road at Painesville Riverside. That is a 9 versus 8 matchup. Also in Division 2, different region, but still Division 2. Louisville will be on the road versus Westerville South. That is 12 Louisville against 5 Westerville South. In Division 3, we have Geneva on the road at Alliance, 10 versus 7 in that one. That is the only Division 3 matchup involving a YSN team this week. In Division 4, Hubbard is on the road at NDCL. That's 9 versus 8. Edgewood, as the 12 seed, goes on the road at Norton. And then Salem is on the road against Canal Fulton Northwest, 10 versus 7. In Division 5, we have Berkshire coming to South Range, 9 versus 8. Pymatuning Valley will go to St. Clairsville. That's 12 versus 5. Claymont will visit Liberty. That is 11 versus 6. We go to Division 6. Springfield as a 9 seed on the road. They have to play Wycliffe. Mineral Ridge is a 10 seed on the road. They play at Garraway. And Columbiana on the road at Dalton, 11 versus 6. In Division 7, 9 seeded Norwalk St. Paul comes to Warren JFK. I believe that game is being played at Girard.
Correct.
Because JFK normally plays at Liberty. Obviously, that field is being used. Ashtabula St. John as the 12 seed will be at Malvern. Lisbon as a 10 seed will be at East Canton. And then 11 seed Western Reserve will be at East Palestine, which is a 6 seed.
So there's one game that really kind of sticks out for me. It's more into Sam Torres' territory up in Ashtabula, but Geneva Alliance.
Yes.
So the funny thing, and the reason this one kind of pops out to me, obviously Alliance plays their games at Mount Union University. My students have a lot of assignments where they have to go out and cover games and shoot video and do what we do. Try to emulate what they're going to do in the future. And a lot of the times they end up right at their home campus and watching Alliance games. So I've learned a lot about Alliance over the course of this season. They got guys everywhere. They're a talented team. They obviously took it to Salem earlier this year. And I mean, Geneva, we've heard a lot about Geneva this year from Torres on zone coverage and everything like that. And they're a team to watch out. I mean, you can't count out a guy like Bryce Pete. Talented guy, can run the ball, and they're a team. Obviously, got in with a number 10 seed, but I think that's going to be a very exciting game. round one, two talented teams. Anything can happen in a game like that. A couple other ones I think I would look at, Springfield and Wycliffe in that first round matchup. That's another one to keep an eye on. Obviously, we all know the pedigree of the program over in Springfield and what they've been able to do over the last 5-10 years. But Wycliffe coming in 8-2, it's a talented team. So I would think those two are two games to watch out if we're not counting Mineral Ridge going to Garaway, because I think that's one of the bigger matchups of round one. You got a team looking to prove itself. I believe Andy Hake stated that it's the beginning of the golden era on Thursday or something along those lines.
Nailed it.
And you got a team like Garaway who's constantly in the conversation in the postseason and is having a pretty good season.
All right, so now we look at a team in South Range that we were potentially. I mean, if you watched the first half of that football game, you thought that the end was near for the Raiders here in 2025. Then they come out after I would say a stern talking to I would imagine at halftime, and they end up winning that game by 1 point. I think we had 3 games on Friday that were 1 point decisions, which was fantastic, right? That's what you want in high school football in week 10. Maybe the old ticker for yours truly was working a little OT, but I'll tell you what, a great game nonetheless. And then you get South Range that was an 11 seed going into week 10, now an 8 seed with a home game as Berkshire comes to town. What Raiders are we watching here at 6-4 on the year? Can they be a contender in this playoff, in this very challenging Division 5, Region 17 if, and that's a big if, they get by Berkshire, Cardinal Mooney waiting in the wings yet again.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, I think if you watched high school football in the Youngstown area over the last, 10 years, you probably would know to never count out the Raiders, no matter the situation, no matter the year, no matter the record. And I think over the last 2 weeks against Mooney and against Hubbard, you've seen a team that's faced adversity, stared it in the face, and responded in big ways. I mean, that Mooney game, if you want to look back at it, they came from behind, tied the game, and suffered a tough loss on a pick 6 at the end of the game. I mean, it's not much you can do in that situation. I mean, it was a crazy play that the Cardinals made there to finish that one off, and obviously they're reaping the rewards with the number 1 seed in that region. And then this past week against Hubbard, you had a team that was staring defeat in the loss. They didn't give up. They came back out and they responded, and they came away with a win, going for 2. In a couple different situations and just responding throughout the game to whatever Hubbard was able to throw their way. And I think that's the South Range team we know. And I think that's the South Range team you'll see in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, throughout 10 games of a year, you learn more about programs, you learn more about teams. And I think the Raiders have learned a lot about themselves over the past couple weeks, and they're ready to respond in the playoffs when the lights are the brightest.
How much, when you're talking about South Range, how much do you think just the aura and mystique of South Range in the playoffs and what they've been able to do in the playoffs the last 5 years, how much do you think that helps them? I mean, really, how much do you think that kind of might get into the mind of other teams and also gives them a little bit of edge experience-wise when you talk about their players?
From a media perspective, it's always a storyline that you gotta look at. I mean, obviously, South Range has always had that success. They've always been known as the top program in Division 5 or Division 6, whatever they've been in, and they're just because of that. When you're looking at it from an opponent's perspective, you never want to overlook them, right? Because you never know what they're going to be able to do. As far as South Range themselves with that, I don't think it's something you can really think about. Like it's a year by year basis. Each team is different. Each team has a different identity. Obviously they've had a ton of success in the past, but this is a new team. This is a new year. This is a new postseason. And they want to write their own story. And, heading into the playoffs, it's not something like, oh, we've had success in the past, we can, win this game just because of that. They got to go out and they got to do their own thing, and they got to respond in their own way. And they have the pieces to get it done. I mean, we've seen Jason Vorchak, we've seen Nick Toy, we've seen Tommy Titus. By the way, the TNT call on Friday, DJ. Oh my gosh. But this South Range team is for real, and I think over the last 2 weeks we've seen more of the South Range team that we've come to know and love. And I think they're ready for the call for sure.
All right, so let's look into your crystal ball with all your aura and mystique that Anthony talked about. Which, by the way, buddy, hey, that's why you're an 8-time best-selling author, right? Bringing those to the table, aura and mystique. All right, let's look at the crystal ball here, Greg. Who are we going to be talking about with this time next week with a little bit different point of view, either good or bad? They either had a big letdown or they had one of the biggest games of their year, and they're on to week 12.
So I think Mineral Ridge, a team you really want to keep an eye on. I mean, obviously we've seen what they've been able to do all year long. I think Garaway is a huge first round matchup for them because it's a game where you can learn a lot about a program. It's going up against a team like Garaway that's been in the playoffs before, that has had that playoff success. And I think, like I said before, Andy Hake's always going to have his guys ready to go. And, like he said, it's the beginning of a new era at Mineral Ridge, and I think they're ready to prove that. I think they were ready to prove that Friday. They just came out on the losing end. So I think Mineral Ridge is one team that you want to keep an eye on. I think the Western Reserve East Palestine game, another game you want to keep an eye on that we could see. Obviously you have a program that has, been at the bottom of the barrel for a decent amount of time. And they, were able to have a run last year, and they put together a pretty special season despite how the year is finished this year. And they have young guys. They have a young quarterback in Clark Rutledge. They have, receivers on the outside. And they have a motivated offensive and defensive line. And, they're ready to prove themselves. And this is the game where they can prove themselves in a big way in the postseason and capture a playoff win. Mm-hmm. And then, like Sean just said in the comments as well, I don't know if you can show that, Liberty, Dom Pro logo has got these boys ready to play. And they are a team that I don't think anyone would want to face at this point in the season. When you have guys like Dewan Moody and Dion Tutwiler in the backfield for the Leopards, anything can happen at any given time. And that's on running plays, that's on passing plays, that's on special teams and kickoff and punt returns. And, I've seen this defense in action throughout the year, and they are very, very strong. And if they can, obviously we saw that that matchup against Crestview earlier this year. If a couple different things happen, Liberty's higher than the number 6 seed here. If they play a cleaner game with less penalties, they possibly come out on the winning end in that game. Against Garfield, they lost on a PAT attempt. If one thing happens in that game, they come out on the winning end, and we're possibly talking about the Leopards as conference champs. So I think they're definitely a team to watch. One thing I'm looking forward to is how the first round plays out, because there are a lot of potential matchups in the second round that could be very, very exciting. I mean, we're talking JFK McDonald, possibly. We're talking Canfield, or we're talking South Range Mooney. We're talking Mineral Ridge Crestview. Cool. Like there are games all over the place that are like just so much fun to kind of think of. All right, if this happens, this could be really fun to watch. So that's what I'm looking forward to this week, and we'll kind of see how it plays out.
It's as good as it gets, dude. I mean, you really think about it.
100%.
Even though week 11 is exciting, and you've got some teams that are still trying to figure things out, week 12, not to look ahead, is going to be awesome, because how many teams are going to have home games, Ant? Did you say that earlier?
12 teams have a bye. So
12 teams will have a home game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those are all ISN teams. So we're guaranteed 12 games next week, which is just as exciting, and probably some local matchups, which is even better.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be good. Awesome. I mean, you like Hoban Boardman. Fitch is going to host a home game. Canfield's going to host a home game. West Branch could potentially play Edgewood, which we know, Sam Torres has been high on Edgewood all year long. Mooney, South Range, Girard will have a home game. Forgot about this one. Overlooked this one. If Liberty wins their first round matchup, they play Poland second round. Can you imagine that matchup? I mean, Don Prologo, Tom Pavlansky, Vito Kamara, Dewan Moody.
It's a lot of speed.
Boy.
A lot of speed.
Liberty, it blows me away. I saw a graphic earlier that they put out that you have Tutwiler and Moody both over 1,000 yards in that backfield. Yeah. I mean, some schools aren't blessed enough to have one of those guys. You know what I mean? And they've got two of them. So kudos. And then they got other weapons.
Yeah. Who would want to face that in the playoffs? Like, anything can happen. And when you have two guys like that can break a game wide open. I mean, you look back at Liberty's game against Champion. I mean, I think Moody had like 5 total touchdowns. Tutwiler had, I think, 3 or 4. He returned the opening kickoff in the second half and had 2 huge runs throughout the game. They're an exciting team to watch. And if I was a coach, I wouldn't want to have to game plan for those two.
No, neither would I. And it tells you how good the amount of football is. And
100%.
And we're getting more and more teams, and we have 30. I saw it on the news this morning. They called it 29, but we have Hoban, to which the local station.
Perry probably is in there from ours that isn't local.
So we should have 31, right?
31, I think. I don't know if they counted Geneva either.
It's a good number.
Do they count 32. The Ashby schools, Geneva, St. John, Edgewood?
33. All right, so now we're growing.
We're climbing.
The number keeps climbing. We're
I will take it. However many we can get, that's how many we're going to take.
You want to count the PA teams too over in Pennsylvania?
Oh yeah, Beaver and Mohawk are they're still alive. Beaver got in as a wild card. Mohawk's an 8 seed in the Whipple, so they'll host Olsh, OLSH. Never heard.
Our Lady of the Sacred Heart.
There it is, Olsh. Good job.
I got the Whipio on lock. Don't worry.
I like old.
All I need to say is I'm watching a particular game last night that I wasn't too pleased at the outcome, and right there, I think it was about halftime. Beaver gets on national television. Way to go, Bobcats! Way to go. or as Rob Johnson says, the Beavers. I was like, no, that's not the right ones. And another team on there who had a pretty successful season that might be. And if you watched it, you know. And if you don't, we're not going to tell you until it's official. But boy, oh boy, it could be.
I missed my opportunity to have that spiel on Thursday when we didn't do picks.
Yeah. Thursday got away from us. I think it's safe to say as Thursday got away from us pretty quickly. But anytime you're dealing with Andy,
never mind.
But it is antelope season, I hear. So,
it is antelopes.
We're excited. We're excited to potentially take part in that moving forward. Greg, I cannot thank you enough. That your job is not done. We'll talk about this next week on Overreaction Monday, certainly, and through the rest of the season. And hopefully we go about I don't know, what do you say, 6 more weeks? Get this figured out?
I'm hoping to have a little road trip to Canton here in a couple of weeks.
That'd be nice. And you got a few options to choose from this week. As much as we're going to miss you in the booth, some new things and exciting things that we're going to be launching here at YSN. While we have a quick second, do you want to say kind of what your plan is moving forward here?
Yeah. I mean, just from obviously I've loved my time in the booth. I love calling games. It's so much fun. But my real place is on the sidelines where I've been throughout my career. I love being down there. So I'm going to be shooting a lot of photos, doing a lot of videos, some highlight videos and stuff like that from the sideline angles. So I'm excited to get back on the sideline, shoot photos. I've obviously got some, I've been able to post some like pregame photos and things like that, just walking around, taking photos of the student athletes. It's gotten a lot of love on social media over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to try to, get back into doing that, get some action photos and things of that nature. It's something I've always enjoyed doing, even when I was in the newspaper business or when I was working down in Pittsburgh. So I'm excited to, show that emotion from the sidelines and, be able to do some interviews and talk to some players after games and all that type of stuff. So I'm excited.
It's called catching lightning in a bottle, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got it. And we've got guys like Greg that can make that happen. So we're excited to debut officially a new era of YSN, and it's something to show more of that emotion on the sideline and some new stuff. So, Greg, thank you so much. I know you got to get to class. Make sure you give the young students of Mount Union our best, and certainly we will see you very soon, my friend.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good night.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Or good day, good afternoon, whatever.
You better get it together before you get in that class. They will eat you alive.
Look, I had to work outside the Steelers game last night, and I didn't get home until about 1 a.m., so I'm...
But you made money. You made money.
Yeah, made money. Yep, that's how it goes.
Hey, make that change, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg McAfee.
Have a good day, guys.
See you, buddy. Pretty good segment. I like that segment a lot. Whoever came up with that is probably a brilliant visionary.
They're probably making a lot of money now.
Who is?
Whoever came up with that. Could be.
What, the segment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should be.
Could be.
Should be. Just some idiot, I'm guessing. Just some idiot. In all seriousness, I love this segment because Greg comes on and he does the highlights. So he's not just blowing smoke. Right. He knows, he sees, he is the wizard of all of this stuff. And to be able to do what he does, and he just loves, he eats all of this stuff up. He loves this sport, and people are like, well, you guys talk you're talking about puppies and clouds and everything's happy. Like, it's sports. It's supposed to be happy, right? Like, it's been, now there's some realities. Like I think we did a good job of kind of cornering some of those questions when you're talking about one team limping into the playoffs and one team coming in like a lion, But like, there's an ability to be a journalist, but also be an optimist, for these teams, because after all, these are children we're talking about.
Once again, we've had to say it multiple times this year. We'll say it again. These are children.
and people are like, well, you don't call my son children. You don't call my daughter children. Okay, if they're under 18, they're a child. I'm right. Like, I don't know what else to characterize them as.
Well, they have to be a young adult. No, okay. No, stop.
You treat them like a young adult, then. Anyway, before we get on a tangent that we probably shouldn't get on. What a season. I mean, if we can reflect real quick on the season that was, we're not going to do an obituary for the teams that didn't make it, but what a season. You think about 10 weeks, it feels literally like we just started this. Mm-hmm. And it gets faster and faster every single year. I know that's what old people say. Maybe I'm old now. I think maybe I qualify. But you think about this, we started 10 weeks ago and we didn't know what to expect. And I think this might be one of the best stories that we've ever been able to capture this year, with the amount of games that we had, with the amount of talented announcers that we were able to put in booths, and were the amount of content we were able to put out with these interviews and everything. I'm not going to sit here and pat us on the back necessarily all the way, but I will tell you that I think being able to capture and encapsulate the last 10 weeks of this football season in particular, and volleyball season, and soccer and golf, man, I am very proud not only of what we've been able to do at YSN, but the area and the success we've been able to do. And I firmly believe we're going to crown a state champion here from YSN this year. I don't know who. People are asking. I don't know, because you still don't know who some of these teams are. I live in East Palestine, and I don't know who East Palestine is, from that standpoint. And that's the beauty of sports, right? They can figure it out tonight, and then they go into a game against Western Reserve, and they could absolutely come out there shining like a star like they did for 6 games. Or they could look like they did against Columbiana. Right. They could look – that's why sports are so great, because you don't know, because it's a week-to-week situation. And, people are like, well, I don't understand how – well, in high school – there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of hormones going on, right? And, your starting quarterback could have a bad day because or a bad game because he had a bad day. Girlfriend breaks up with him. You get a bad score on a test. Sick this time of year. It's not like you can go get Joe Flacco and bring him in. You got the kid that's in your community that's been a part of your team for the last 10 weeks. That's who you have. And that's who you go to war with. That's why high school sports and Andy said it best on Thursday. It's still one of the purest things that we have and one of the few things that we have left that is pure in sports nowadays. And I think we saw a lot of that last weekend.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the other thing, and I've said it before, like you just don't know how kids are going to react to tight situations. That's why when you're in a playoff game and you say, especially if you're the underdog, you say we can get this close. You just never, even if that team's more talented than you just don't know how 14 to on the older scale, 18-year-old kids are going to react to certain situations. It just doesn't. It's not as consistent as we see in the upper levels of football, college D1 or NFL. Like we don't know how this kid's going to react to being, if he's like a sophomore stud quarterback, how's he going to really react to a regional championship game where he has to make the throw or his team loses? Like we just don't know. And that's what's kind of cool about high school sports.
Well, and some of these kids are working jobs already, to try to help out their family or try to pay for insurance or whatever it may be. And then, you go to college, these kids are getting paid. And there's a lot of chatter. Pardon me. There's a lot of chatter about NIL coming to Ohio. We haven't really discussed that since that. There's a lot to discuss with the OHSA. Let's be honest. Over the last week or so, they've been putting stuff out there almost regularly, which we don't see very often. Right. Which the journalist in me starts raising his eyebrow and goes, "Okay, what are we trying to protect ourselves from?"
Let's also be real. The OHSA got some other stuff that they had to take care of. They came up. We saw what was going down in Ironton, and we know that that's a big mess that they're trying to take care of. We saw their Twitter page change their cover photo from Ironton football to field hockey real quick, so you knew something was brewing when that happens. When they want Ironton off their social media pages.
I didn't see that. That's interesting.
Yeah, on Friday it was Ironton football, and it's been Ironton football like in their state championship game for the whole fall sports season. But then when it went from, I think, Friday to Saturday morning, it switched, and it was field hockey all of a sudden. Which is something that you wouldn't normally read too much into, but when you know the context of what else is going on, then you start to read into like, oh, why'd they take Ironton off all of a sudden?
I know I give the OHSA a lot of grief. And there's a lot of people that do, and there's good reason for it, in my humble opinion. As someone who takes grief from the public, and for what we do, I feel like hey, we can do this too. But the OHSAA, I will say this: I don't understand. I don't pretend to what they're going through, because they're essentially being sued. They're in a lawsuit for the NIL. Right. Which is what has brought this whole thing that has been lingering like a booger, literally just hanging there forever and unaddressed. And now we're going to address it in week 10 of the high school football season. And whatever we use high school football as a reference because everybody kind of connects with that, right? It's the same as if we used inches and centimeters. Okay, I get it. I understand that. If I said week 10 of the volleyball season, people are going to go, what does that mean? So before I get hate mail for saying football season instead of the fall, it's our measurement. But when you think about this, Anthony, last week, I think it was Wednesday, they came out with the NIL thing. And then, Tuesday, they came out with the NIL thing that we're going to open this up for 45 days, kind of a, choose at your own risk kind of situation. But there's going to be a vote on in November, as I understand.
Yeah, and that got moved up. It was going to happen already in May, but this lawsuit is like kind of made an emergency vote. Like, oh, we better have this.
Yeah, so it's going to be like November 21st, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, and it's, as I understand, it's a text vote. if I read that correctly, which is interesting to me because principals only are supposed to be the ones that represent their entire school or district. Like what happens? We've seen what can happen in, well, AI can do some funny things. There's a lot of asterisks that can happen that can go down. But I'm really interested because NIL is an opportunity for kids to make money.
Right.
On their name, their image, or their likeness. Whether you think they're going to make money or you think they're not, I'm a capitalist at heart. I don't think that there should be an opportunity taken away from a kid,
right,
especially with some of the things that we put on their plate nowadays, right? Some of these kids are supporting their family for lack of better instances. I think if you're taking away from them, then you shouldn't make them go to practice for 6 hours a day. Some of these kids are doing morning lifts, and then they're going to study tables, and then they're going to practice, and that accumulates about 6 hours, 6 or 8 hours, which then they could go get essentially a full-time job if they really wanted to. But they can't do that because you're taking away from them, which is one of the main reasons that I say I support NIL. If a kid can make a couple $100 or whatever a week or a month to support their family, because they're talented at a sport, yes. They referenced, I don't know if you caught this last night, they referenced it last night with Tucker Kraft, where he had opportunities to go play for schools with NIL,
right?
And he stayed in his hometown. And that's what everybody's afraid of. That's the boogeyman with NIL is it's going to start like we're all going to go play at one high school. Right. I don't think that's going to happen here.
The boogeyman is because they see what's going on in college and they think, well, that's going to happen here. We're going to have kids just go places because there's NIL money. And they're going to be like, okay, let's go to insert school here because I can go make, a lot of money. They have this big booster that's going to pay me $1 million to go play quarterback for this team. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. It might happen like in isolated incidents in really big high schools in like the Columbus and Cleveland areas maybe. But I don't think we're going to see that locally where we see a kid go from, one county to the next because there's a school in Trumbull County that's going to, throw him $200,000 to come play at that school. I don't think that's going to happen.
Most of these kids, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, most of these kids are going to be blessed to get a pizza a week,
right.
To do the NIL. And we've seen I think it's in the majority of states in the country. It's not in Ohio yet. There's a lot of fear of this, and I think it's a fear of the unknown. I think if I'm going to put it out there, listen, as a guy that is basically, if Pennsylvania was another country, I'd be a dual resident of that country because we spend so much time in Pennsylvania because we're right on the border, obviously, to East Palestine. So we do our shopping in Pennsylvania. We do all this stuff. If Pennsylvania can get it and can figure it out, Ohio's going to be just fine.
Right.
Ohio's going to be just fine. And, Indiana and Wisconsin and some of these other states that have it, we're going to be okay.
And the comment that I've seen a couple of times that really irritates me is, well, no one's forcing them to play football, because you said like we're keeping these kids 6 hours a day or whatever, So no one's forcing them to play sports. If it's too much, they can just stop. Like, okay, let's just stop the one thing that you're really good at and you love and just say, hey, you know what? No one's forcing you to do that. Get out because we can't have you do it. Like, I hate that comment with a passion.
I'm with you on that. I also think it's a great opportunity to allow them to learn how to deal with money and how to deal with decision-making earlier in the process from a standpoint of, okay, you are most student athletes are in the four walls of their parents' home or a guardian's home, right? And they can kind of, hey, what do you think I should do here? Whereas you get to college, most of the time you're around your buddies and it's like, hey, if I can get $300,000, and by the way, with all the things that's going on with gambling and stuff, like it can get dicey. It can get dicey. And it gives you an opportunity to have some conversation and some open dialogue for what is worth your name, image, and likeness, because there is some things, and guess what? Business is crude. So if you're out there and you sign an NIL deal as a high schooler, as a 14-year-old, let's say, and you make some bad decisions and that deal goes away, it's a TS moment. Tough, you know what? and you learn that at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? Instead of, wait a minute, this guy, they promised us the world. There's some business shysters out there that will use you for your name, image, and likeness.
Honestly, parents scare me more than the kids. Honestly, they're like, parents starting to turn into monsters because they see dollar signs when they look at their kid. That's what scares me a lot more than kids seeing dollar signs when they see themselves. Because at the end of the day, if you're under 18, your parents are the ones signing that contract, right? Because you can't sign a contract at 16.
That's very true.
So
that's very true. I didn't think about that.
Parent signs a kid, signs a kid away, and they're thinking, oh, I could make a lot of money on, because there are some. We like to think that every parent everywhere is perfectly awesome, but that's just not the case. Some parents would see the opportunity to make some money, and maybe make some, shady business decisions.
Doug DeTilio talking about the private schools having donors compared to the public schools. I'm with you to an extent, to a point. I understand that, but what people are not considering in a comment like that, and I'm not disengaging your comment here, but I'm trying to open up some dialogue, is I can promise you that the schools will be just fine from a standpoint of, like, they're going to get the money first. Like, they're going to get the money first. From that standpoint. So nothing to me in that, looking at it from a 10,000 foot view, so to speak, I don't think anything changes, because I don't think any big business is going to sit there, or big donor is going to be like, well, I'm going to do this. And I think what you're trying to get at is these private schools are going to recruit because they have money and public schools don't.
Right.
Where I think that they already are. And I think that we're seeing it with public schools now, because we're seeing what's going on over at Ironton.
Right.
And I think that while that here locally, that might be the optics of, hey, the private schools have all the money, I don't think that's necessarily the rule, but the exception here, if that makes sense. Like, I think, and this gets me to the next topic that I think we need to discuss involving Ironton in some shade, not necessarily us throwing it, but there's a shade of what's happening in Ironton that people don't realize is going to come down very quickly across the state of Ohio. And the recruiting aspect of everything is going to be the next flavor of the week for the OHSAA. And if you haven't seen this, and if this isn't completely apparent to you, it's about to be. And boy, oh boy, there's some people. I mean, we don't talk about the stuff that happened in the NBA. We kind of glazed over that, but there's a lot of people that are shaken over what's happening in the NBA and the gambling ring and all that stuff.
Right.
I can tell you that when Ironton was kind of poked here, and obviously, we have no, other than us joking about Ironton a couple years ago when they put that video out, Ironton by 90 over South Range, which I don't know. I don't want to give a spoiler, but that didn't happen. I feel bad for those kids. I feel bad for the Ursuline kids. I feel bad from a standpoint of if you were not recruited, you know what I mean? If you were not in a scenario or you did not do anything wrong,
right?
Like, your hands are clean, then you're being penalized because guilty by association. But the unfortunate thing and kind of the fortunate thing about our society is you have to make tough choices, right? And sometimes those choices are the people that you hang with aren't making very good decisions and you don't even know about it. So unfortunately, you learn quickly. And that sucks. It sucks. It's a tough rule. It's a tough law. It's a tough way of life. But you've got to know who you surround yourself with, right? I mean, parents try to protect their kids all the time about who's in their inner circles, and I don't want my kid hanging out with this kid because of what they do or who they are or who they hang. It's no different in the world of sports. It's no different in the world of what we're going to do. So, man, it can get dicey out there real quick. And I'm probably just throwing a lot of ideas and a lot of words out there that people are like, what is he talking? If you get it, you get it. You know, like when it comes to recruitment, it's going to be, I would say, a top priority for the OHSA. In the circles that I'm in, the conversation has been for the last year or so that recruitment is going to be, how do I say? They're going to come down with a swift hammer right on your hand.
And they almost have to, because once they find like a smoking gun for Ironton, which I think they obviously, I don't know what it is, but they probably have one to come down as hard as they are, you know, with not just banning from the playoffs this year, but I think probation for like the next couple of years for Ironton. That kind of forces them to be like, okay, well, I guess now we have to do action on other things that we kind of know about a little bit, maybe don't have the smoking gun per se, but like we can't come down on Ironton and kind of close our eyes to all the other things that are going on in the state. It's just not going to happen. So once they find someone, once someone gets caught doing it, there's going to be a widespread search for anyone else that's doing it.
It is going to be a narcs paradise,
right?
Very quickly here. And we've seen this before. We've seen athletic directors turning in themselves. We've seen athletic directors turning in others. The scary thing is, I was talking to one individual, actually multiple individuals told me the same exact thing. And they said, listen, we all knew it was happening. And that's why everybody rooted against them. So like if you wanted to get film for Ironton, you could probably get film from anywhere you wanted. And they would give them to you for nothing because everybody was like, what they were doing. Ironton was the bad guy. They were the dark hat in the room. And it was, hey, this is why. And that's why everybody was on the South Range bandwagon a few years ago. And it was, I didn't know at the time, but then I quickly kind of figured it out through conversations. It was like, okay, now that makes sense, is because they don't want teams like that. And I will say this, kind of like hockey, NHL, that where they kind of they police themselves on the ice. Yeah. I will say this, football coaches do a very good job of policing them, the coaching spectrum on each other. So like the word travels very quickly. Hey, this team doesn't share tape. This team does. This team doesn't do this. This team, like, you can get a reputation very quickly in your community very quickly from not contributing and not being part of the greater good of not even just the Ohio Football Coaches Association, but just from a standpoint of not partaking in things that have been happening for years. It's part of the process, right? And then when there's teams that are like, no, you're not getting tape, or kind of mince out on certain situations of the process or of giving tape or whatever footage, boy, it can it can add up very quickly, and word gets out. I don't know how. I don't know if they got like a secret like message board that they have, or I mean, some of these coaches on a message boards would be hilarious.
They're in the back with an Enigma machine, like typing out Morse code. In the coaches.
There's 100% chance that Andy Hake has Morse code in his basement. Guaranteed. I don't put it past it. But I mean, you look at some of this, and here's the last one that I wanted to address before we get out of here, because I know it's the 1:00 hour. The one thing we've been calling for since COVID has been get rid of the cancellations in football. Right?
They did that too.
They did that last week, Ant.
Mm-hmm.
Last week. They've had, that's 2020. They've had 5 years to figure this out. And we're going to go, hey, week 10, 2025, we got that. Boom. They didn't warn. They just said, hey, if you cancel the game in 2025, it's a forfeit.
Right.
Just all of a sudden. So you look at that. Excuse me.
You make them like you hate to think this way, but you make that think if there was someone that they wanted to be like in the playoffs or benefit from that was like on the ropes because their game got canceled, and someone went to the OHSA and was like, "Hey fellas, can we fix this?" And they were like, "Okay," but then they had to do it for everybody.
I was told this a long time ago, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se, but with the absence of information, conspiracy will run wild.
Mm-hmm.
There was no information given. There was no, like, again, we have been promoting this for 5 years on a show like this.
They never even like posted officially like, "Hey, we've made this decision." It was just kind of there all of a sudden. And it was these secondary, sources that said, "Hey, by the way, we just saw the Springfield record move to 6-3 all of a sudden." Like there was never even like an official
press release
that said, "Hey, we've made the decision that these games are to be turned into wins."
Now, to be fair, there could have been a press release and we didn't see it.
Right.
But even still, if we were to see it, I'd put some eyes on that and say, okay, how do we carve this pumpkin up and get to the real meat of it? Because again, they changed the goalposts. Right in the middle, not even the middle of the season, the end of the season, on a Thursday, or late Wednesday, early Thursday. And the reason I say that is because I walk into Mineral Ridge and Sam goes, "Hey, did you see what happened?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And he explains what had just transpired. And if I'm sitting there, I mean, you look at, Waterloo had to cancel some games. And I don't think they were, obviously they had a tough season. They're not in the midst of, being able to benefit or not. But the question begs here, Anthony, and not the conspiracy theorist, but the person, the journalist says, okay, so why? And I'm going to be the black hat here, the black hat cowboy in the saloon. Why were the teams that canceled on Ursuline when there was still a season not affected? Right. They canceled
because they canceled themselves. Like it wasn't Ursuline canceled on them; they canceled on Ursuline. So the only effect that would have had is honestly giving Ursuline wins, which is kind of a moot point at this point.
But it's the only universal solution. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
this looks real sketchy.
That was some murky waters, but yeah, like they should have been. I guess the thinking was, if you canceled on Ursuline, and we said that was a forfeit, not a cancellation, you still don't have that win because it's not like they canceled on Ursuline and then they put a win on their schedule, so they wouldn't have been adversely affected because it would just been like Mooney does, for example, instead of being 6-3 would have been 6-3. Like there's
no. They got to win.
6-4.
They got to win or a loss. They got to win or a loss.
They just got 9 games, so I guess it would have been 6-4.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have been the number 1 seed. And I'm not knocking Mooney, but that's the instance that you go, hey, wait a minute. Right. And also Walsh Jesuit, and also
in every team.
You go down the lineup. I'm just thinking from my standpoint. I'm like, okay, obviously we've not covered it because that's not what we do. We're not a news venue, but when it becomes a kind of an agent for change in how this is, isn't it very interesting that the teams that canceled games, some of these teams that canceled games against one particular team were not affected in this overarching change that they've had 5 years to come up with a solution, and they didn't come up with a solution. Or they did, and they just didn't think it through, and they said, here we go. It does beg the question of why all of a sudden did they point to this and say, this is the time, this is the place, this is the hill we're going to die on? And if nobody's asking me, but if you were asking me, I would say they're doing a lot of, hey, look at this hand so you don't see what's going on in this one.
Right.
That's DJ Yokley's take.
There's some magic trick going on.
Doesn't it feel like that?
Anytime a magician says, "Look at this," don't look at that. They're trying to get you to look at that.
Cut that string. The way they did it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then you start thinking about it. You're like,
but then, like, the crazy thing is, if that was the case, you think they would have been more flashy about doing it. They would have put out a big post about it because they kind of did it under the shadow of night, you know.
Oh, it was Batman post.
Right. There wasn't a lot of attention that they saw. They didn't seek a lot of attention from doing it. They just kind of did it. Like,
who did they tell about this?
Right.
Joe Idol? I'm being dead serious. Like, who did they tell that it created the response and people figured it out? Because they didn't release the stuff until yesterday.
Right.
But everybody knew about it on Thursday. So my best guess would be that they released it to Joe Idol or something along those, because we get the press releases. We get them in our inbox. There's nothing. There's nothing that says that they were going to change cancellations to forfeits and how they were going about it and who they were going to pick and choose, essentially, because to the best journalism we've been able to, kind of unearth here is this is a universal rule. And I don't know that, I don't even know how to put that. I don't know that they ever had a sanction come down about Ursuline.
Right.
Ursuline just kind of said, we don't have enough to make the playoffs, so our season's canceled. But before that, again, they were being canceled on.
Right.
So, I mean, you look at all the teams that canceled that game, and you wonder to yourself, why did they not get a loss there?
Right.
Because and this is bad journalism on my spot, but did they get a win from that?
No, I don't think no one got a win from the.
So it's a cancellation,
right?
But we're not doing cancellations anymore.
Right. Maybe the fact that Ursuline's no longer playing kind of said, okay, we don't need to touch that because there's no one to benefit from it. Maybe I mean.
So what do you do with Ironton?
Right. What do you do with all those?
They did release the thing that said they put Ironton at the bottom of Division 5.
Like, no, Ironton didn't lose this year, so I guess there wouldn't be anyone that was like, okay, what do we do with the wins?
But shouldn't those all be forfeits? Shouldn't those all be forfeits?
No, if you're saying that they're ineligible for the playoffs, then or they're not eligible to play those season games either. They were still breaking the rules for that. Those should all be losses.
This one's got me fired up. Which they let Ironton play that last game, did they not?
Right, yeah, they played week 10.
I mean, how frustrating.
No, I don't think they brought the hammer down yet on Friday. I think it came down on Saturday, but they could have.
Interesting timing. Interesting timing, isn't it? Hey, we're gonna make all our decisions on Saturday. Wait. Again, I applaud the OHSA for doing something. But why is it that every stinking time that the OHSA does something, there's always like a caveat? There's something sticky about it. Like, cut it clean, chop it. Like it's always, we're not going to make a decision on anything until we're just going to let this play out. Like, you are not an official in the NFL. Like, you don't just let the play go on. You are the governing body of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. You are the OHSAA. I don't understand for the life of me how you can sit there and talk out of both sides of your mouth. We love Iron. You changed your profile picture for crying out loud. You sat there literally. You were pointing. You were the NIL. You were, hey, we are so proud of Ironton. We are so proud of this. And you should be. They were a great team. But when you come down, you better come down with an axe or have that thing sharpened up, because it better be a clean cut, because there's a lot of people that are sitting there going, If this happened to anybody else,
right,
would they have eliminated the season? Would they have done? Dude, it is. Oh. Yeah, exactly, Sean. I'm showing off the tin hat. There's a lot of, but I've been down this road before with these guys. I've been down, and they change the rules based on their preference. Right. There's a lot of people talking about kings and all that stuff. You want to talk about kings? We are not living in a democracy in the OHSAA world.
No. It's a monarchy, or at least a, I don't know what you'd call it because there's not one person that's, I guess there is a person in charge of the OHSAA, right? They have a president?
The plot thickens. An ineligible player, and they were given a forfeit. But they were able to play, right? I'm not. Played.
But they weren't given a forfeit for all their games.
Just the last one.
But just like that. Last one.
This point proven right there. And, like crazy, right? This is the I rest my case moment against the OHSAA.
It's crazy.
And here's Ironton. If that's not a middle finger to the OHSAA, I don't know. Hey, you're going to take away okay, no problem. We're throwing in a player that's not even eligible to play.
All right, we don't care. We can't play in the tournament anyway. Come on, Johnny. Get in there.
And it's probably not as simple as that. It could be something where, and I don't know, and I probably shouldn't sit there and poke fun or make fun of it because it could be a good situation. I'm hoping it's a good situation for Ironton where a kid who wasn't able to play or what, you give them something. You know what I mean?
Right.
You throw them a bone.
At least a senior. Like, hey, this is going to be your last game.
I don't know. Literally just learning about this right now. So, but, I mean, even still, if you're not sitting here, tin hat or not, if you're not sitting here and going, so wait a minute. Like, with everything that has transpired this season, no matter where you sit on the fence of the Ursuline stuff, but we're going to let this happen over in Ironton?
Right.
And then they're going to play an ineligible kid, but you're going to forfeit that one. But what about the other? Like,
yeah, because you've obviously said that they've done stuff that makes them ineligible for the playoffs, which means there's something they were doing wrong for the first 9 games of the season. Shouldn't they be forfeit too?
And we're not piling on Ironton right now. I'll be dead on. Ironton did this themselves. This is just it's news from a standpoint of sports world. It should have affected a lot more teams than it did. The OHSAA put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, T-Swift, and said, that'll do it. But then there's people out there, and they go, pardon me. Question for the class. Do you think they're ever going to answer that?
No. They haven't answered stuff in the past. Why would they answer this?
And this is going to sound like I got an axe to grind against the OHSAA, which I have many axes to grind. But they call the shots. I mean, people complain about our pay-per-view model, our sponsorship model when it comes to postseason coverage. This is what they do. And also, we've been in a scenario where we're not allowed to video because we're playing by the rules. Anthony, you were there when this happened. And right next to us is an entity that is not affiliated with whatever partnership they have at that moment that makes them a lot of money. And they're videoing.
Right.
And they're like,
Like, and they're not like having a little, like, let's just sneak a camera. They had like a setup, like
they had 6 cameras.
Like, what do we do?
And they're like, oh yeah, that's an agreement we have with them. Oh, wait a minute.
They're not doing live, so they're okay. They're taped to, they're taped to replay. Tape delay.
It's frustrating.
We were told we couldn't even do that.
No. We can tape for highlights. That's exactly what we were told. And that's what we have done because we need highlights because we, contrary to popular belief, people actually like to see what's going on in a championship game that don't have Spectrum or aren't going to pay. I don't know what it is through the OHSAA and they get a nice chunk out. And NFHS stinks. It's a racket. It's what it is. We ask you to pay $9.99 for what is it going to be, like 16 games this Friday?
Right.
That's not per game. All the games. It's wild to me. Absolutely wild. Oh, Patrick Bryan chiming in. You want to read this one yet? Because I don't have my cheat.
Let me get through this one. Let's see. It says, this is from the OHSAA. Due to extent of the violations, the penalties include a postseason ban this season, a probation suspension of some members of the coaching staff next year if they are
still
coaching on staff. And then 3 years probation and a $7,500 fine. So they did bring the hammer down pretty hard on Iron.
No, that's not probation.
3 years probation and a $7,500 fine.
Probation is a 2-minute timeout, is what that is. In the world of parenting, it's a 2-minute time. All right, dude, you're gonna go sit there until I can figure out what punishment to come up with. $7,500 to Ironton is nothing.
Nothing.
You all right with that microphone there?
No, it wasn't. It was. I was sticking on something. And
yeah,
it was leaning.
It's not
to fall.
It's loud.
Sorry.
It's loud. Next time there's a thing you can turn it down. There we go.
All right, we're good.
We're back. I don't know. You can tell that it's like I'm getting hot. Like I'm actually physically getting hot because they take me to another level because they don't run their business fairly. And then they just do stuff like this. Like Patrick Bryan mentioned, the sanctions that they handed down to Ironton. The precedence for that is going to be real interesting when it comes to other teams that they're just waiting around for. Because guess what? If all I get is a postseason ban for 1 year, what, 3 years of probation?
3 years probation, coach suspensions if they still are on staff.
But the kids get to stay, I would assume.
And a very small fine. Like for us, it'd be like paying $25. Like, here you go.
So everybody, again, here it is, Ant. Everybody's worried about this NIL. And here's what we're going to do.
Hey, look, Ironton.
This is what drives me insane about them, dude. It drives me up the wall because it's just literally, picture this in your head. It's a little kid at a table and picks up spaghetti and throws it against the wall, and it's like, we'll see if Nana notices if I chucked it all, and if it sticks, we're good. I don't understand them. We've had them on this show. We've had conversations with them privately, publicly. Like they basically came up and gave us the FU the day that we were doing a softball state championship game, and a company that does not have as many schools as us, does not have as much content or as much reach as we do, certainly does not have the amount of hits to their website that we do, which everything is gauged off of according to the OHSAA, is doing a full production.
I bet they had call letters.
You know what their letters were. They were the same two as the end of ours, but they had a B and a C before it. I don't, and they stole our logo on top of everything else in our colors. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And they don't play by the rules. So the people that are sitting there with their arms crossed, right, like this, right, that are waiting for the OHSA to come and save people and to make things right, do not hold your breath. Do not. We have learned through valiant efforts, if I don't say so myself, or if I do say so myself, they're not going to even the playing field. They're not interested in that. And usually the only way that they even effect change is if it affects them. And this lawsuit that has them pooping down their leg, like, this is why you've got a 45-day, and this is why nobody that I know that I've come in contact with is touching that NIL thing. They're like, oh, we don't trust them. Like, there's no. You want to talk about bringing the hammer down? If this thing fails, they're going to be like, you, gone. But you said, yep. We also said there's a chance it doesn't work out for you. Hey, good luck out there. Good luck. We're all living in the Hunger Games with the OHSAA. We're all living in it. There's only a few Katniss Everdeens out there. I'd make a Harry Potter comment, but I've never seen Harry Potter. Star Wars? We can go Star Wars. Can't wait. We're going to Disney. I can't wait.
Let's go.
I'm going to jump back into the Millennium Falcon, but it will not be with my son. He cannot drive. It is time, believe it or not, for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark. We're only 23 minutes behind. Our apologies to anybody watching this. They're everything electrical, just like us at YSN. They're available to you 24/7, 365 at DickeyElectric.com. All right, Ronald.
Hey, if you are on our social media pages, this morning you have noticed that we have started to announce the members of our all-star roster, so make sure to keep an eye on that. We are going in alphabetical order of the team that you play for. If you know you are confirmed and you see a team that pops up that is past your team alphabetically, please raise your hand. Let us know. Be like, hey, missed me, because we want to make sure everyone gets a graphic. And there's a lot, so mistakes can happen. We're only human. So if you do see, hey, my school's up in the C's and you're posting schools that are in the M's. Wait a minute, hold on. I should be up there. To make sure we know, so we can get you a graphic. Graphics are going up at a good rate. So and then we'll have the drafts in. So we're gonna be speeding towards the All-Star game, which is Sunday, November 2nd at Salem High School, 5:00 start. $5 gets you into the event. As always, we're going to play 5 sets of 25. Last set will be an all-senior set, which is awesome. We're excited for it. We're 6 days out. The countdown is on.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, November 2nd is Sunday. So Sunday, it is this one coming up. So you've got, which should be a spark in itself, the Friday Halloween holiday. Then you've got Saturday, and then you've got All-Star Day at Salem High School at John A. Cabas Gymnasium in Salem, Ohio. So in case you're like me and you're like, oh, November 2nd, still got a couple weeks. Nope. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Nope. So you got just enough time essentially to watch the Steelers game on Sunday, and then we'll see you at the Cab. My spark is one that if you saw my Facebook page or whatever yesterday, it's one that an emotional day for a lot of us yesterday, a lot of people in this area. The Lisbon Dairy Queen right here. Everybody knows the guy that runs it. His name is Gary Leininger. He's our chief photographer. Does all of this because he loves it. This was the 47th and final year at the Lisbon Dairy Queen. And today, I was told, tonight, about 8 p.m., if they can make it that long, to keep some of the mix and stuff to keep the cones coming, will be their final time, their final day in operation after 47 years. And I will tell you this, that I put a post out there, and it was hard enough to put a post out there and put it into words how the Leiningers have changed the community of Lisbon, have changed the community from a business perspective, a local perspective, and have invited everybody, literally everyone, onto their stoop to order their favorite treat, whether it be the Coney dog, the world famous Coney dogs at the Lisbon DQ, whether it be one of those signature ice cream cones with the curl on top, whether it be a Buster bar, whether it be a cake to celebrate your family. Somehow, some way, the Leiningers have affected you. If you're listening to this and you don't even know it, I cannot thank Gary and Fred and the late Betty out there so much for every worker that has come through there. Every one of them. Todd Johnson, Coach Todd Johnson of Columbiana, he was there last night or yesterday, and his wife, who worked there, was in the back, and she was kind of reliving the experience, which was really cool. You and I were there to watch that happen, as they had their kids with them, and they were kind of celebrating the final thing. But what I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, it is not even remotely easy to run a business for a week, for a day, let alone for 47 years. And for them to bypass, I mean, I don't know that I've ever, in fact, I do know, I've never paid for an ice cream cone for my kids, my wife or myself while I was out there. I literally had to put in money into the tip jar, sneak it in there, because our money was no good there. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that he felt that way about. And Sundays will never, ever be the same. Cannot thank Gary enough. Doesn't mean that he is done with YSN. In fact, just the opposite. We are going to have him more and more and more because it's what he loves to do. But the pressures of owning a business and the frustrations in corporate America, it is making things harder and harder to set yourself apart and live that American dream. And for 47 years, the Leiningers, proud, certainly, excited, definitely, and they did it with everything that they had in them. Whether they were, it was they were working overtime, donating ice cream to schools, donating time and resources. I don't know. It's just it's tough. It's exciting. Congratulations. I mean, I quoted the 2 Timothy yesterday. You finished the race. You fought the good fight. Now you guys get to do what you want to do. Now you get to celebrate. So congratulations to the Leiningers. We thank you on behalf of everybody that's ever been there and partaken in one of those awesome cones with a curl. We thank you for everything you've done and the joy that you brought to our lives, even for those fleeting moments of enjoying an ice cream cone. So congratulations, Leiningers. We're proud of you, and we love you. That is a show. It is it's time to get out of here on this Overreaction Monday. Thank you to Greg McAfee for hanging out with us for the first half hour. Thank you to you for tuning in each and every day. And thank you to you, Mr. Hartwig, for once again coming with it, even on the OHSAA tangents that we went on in the last portion of the show. And we will see everybody tomorrow at noon right here on YSN. We'll try to be better. We'll try. And we're gonna succeed one of these days. We're going to be better. But until then, Ant, may sports be with you, pal.
And you, my friend.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of your sports network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.